So Magnus and Luke are on the trail this morning,
Yes, good morning all.
and today we'll take a closer look at the Cooyar township, and then having done that we will continue along the Kooralgin road along the creek. And Cooyar Creek is just on our left here, and it's a beautiful day.
It is, it's a gorgeous day. First frost of the season, so frosty mornings make beautiful days. Should peak out at about 22 degrees today. Still cloudless, absolute beautiful day.
Blue sky. It's the kind of day people move to Queensland for.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
So let's start with the history of the Cooyar township. Now the Cooyar Valley was of course traditional Aboriginal land, and the name Cooyar probably comes from the local Aboriginal name for the wattle or the wattle tree. Now the whole valley pretty much was taken up as Cooyar Station in 1843 by the famous Archer brothers. 64,000 acres of cattle and sheep grazing. In the 1880s the district opened up for selection, and timber became a very big industry here as the land was cleared. The township itself was established around a sawmill in about 1902. Started as a collection of workmen's cottages and then followed a hotel, a store, post office, churches, etc. And by the 1920s the population here was about 250 people. And a century later it's about the same. The Cooyar to Oakey Railway opened in 1912, and that gave local producers access to markets in Toowoomba and Brisbane. And every small station along the railway had its own main exports. And from Cooyar, the exports were pigs, timber and cattle. There's nothing to see at the old Cooyar railway station today. The railway is closed and the buildings were removed, and the Cooyar school now sits on that site. So we're here with Peter Payne.
Yes.
From the Cooyar Amateur Fishing Club.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Thanks for coming along and chatting to us. What we see behind us here is a pretty sorry excuse for a water hole.
Yes.
It's very dry now. Yeah.
Last couple of years, very hard. We stock fish in here, and we haven't done for a couple of years because of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, probably 4 years, I think, actually.
So you were saying that this is the lowest water some people have seen in 80 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We started doing some stocking here in about 98. Instead of just having your normal eel tail catfish and spangles, that's about all you could catch, or you'd catch an odd eel. So it introduced the 3 other species, yeah, which moved it around a bit.
And they're yellow belly,
bass,
bass,
and silver perch.
and silver perch.
Yeah, this is pretty sad at the moment here, eh? Yeah.
It is pretty sad. It's green, as you were saying. It's deceptive because it's green. It's a green drought. We've had a bit of rain, but there's nothing in the ground because we didn't get that soaking rain that we all were hoping for.
And because it was so dry, well, we had no rain from 13 to 20, and 19 was probably a fraction worse than this. Well, this could get worse. So all the fish that we have put in, virtually they've run out of water.
So you're a pretty busy fishing club, I hear. I mean, when the water is up, you're pretty active. You have 100 members or something like that?
We have had around that.
Yeah.
We try to have families, mainly because that's the whole idea. It's mainly for a bit of fun and to introduce some species, and so the children learn to fish. It's passed down, and it's easier to be passed down here than have to drive to the coast or something, I suppose, you know.
Now, when we talked, you said there's no feral fish in here at all?
Well, there's no tilapia.
No tilapia, no swordtails, none of that?
No, and there's none of those barred grunter that are in Somerset. And also we don't have any carp here.
There's actually two creeks in Curia. We have Cooyar Creek, which is where we're standing now, and then Back Creek, which is probably 100 meters that way on the other side of town.
Yes.
And the two creeks meet just on the east side of town.
Yes.
So two significant creeks, really. A lot of water coming down, both of them when it rains.
It drains all the country from the Great Divide, all to the south and the west there. A whole lot, that whole area.
Yeah. And you said that Back Creek is actually salty.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is saltier than this.
Yeah.
But Back Creek itself hardly ever grows any weed at all.
Yeah.
It's pretty, and it's a slightly different colour. Usually if you see bulrushes and no weed, that's normally salt. Yeah. Not all the time, but it's usually like a magnesium salt. It's not like salt from the ocean, but it is
just highly mineralised.
Yes, yeah, and but it doesn't worry the fish.
In conclusion, Peter, I'm sinking into the mud here. Fishing is not very good now, as you can probably see, but the water will come back sooner or later.
One day we hope. Yes.
And if you live in the area and you want to fish Cooyar Creek, obviously you want to join the club.
Yes.
Because you'll then help fund the stocking program and all the the various things that you're involved with. And I know you run fundraising locally, and it's a real community thing. So, and if you're in the community, you live nearby, you want to partake, get in touch with Peter. And be part of it.
And when there's nice clean water, and you can go and see all the platypus. The best time to see a platypus is actually if you're just sitting there still. And this place was full of them.
Early morning and late evening, you'll see it. And I know they're spotted in Back Creek, a couple of 100 meters away as well.
Well, they're sort of all through the system here,
So we're at the Cooyar Homestead, which is just up the road here. And I'm here with Keith and Sandra Duncombe. You've been here for a while, haven't you?
72.
Since 72. And previously you had a homestead up the hill. Now you've retired to a slightly smaller place down the hill. And we have the Cooyar Creek.
Yep, right beside us.
Just right on your boundary. And the reason I was keen to talk to you guys, and thanks for offering to chat to me, is that you were here in 1988, where an event took place, a tragedy really in Curia, and you have some memories of that. And I've been reading up on it a little bit, so I'll just tell you what I know. So what I know is that an evening in February 1988, a thunderstorm developed over the ranges, and it drifted in over Upper Curia, and then it just parked itself. And Vincent Vale, which we walked through in our last walk, they received, I think, 250 millimeters in a few hours, and it just stayed there. And towards midnight, a truck driver was approaching town, and he came in across the bridge that we just passed. And what did he see crossing that bridge?
Well, there's several different things. I don't know just particularly exactly what he saw, but
the power was out. And just saw a lot of water, I suppose, and because it went up and down really quickly.
So effectively, like a wall of water was heading towards
well, we
the town.
assume.
Yeah, yeah.
The water went under this house, only that much, but it all rushed across the flats out the back here. It rushed up that way,
Yeah.
and then come back down here and hit the hill and rushed up there, come across here, and it all met there and
And straight into town.
went straight through. Didn't take the corner.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't take the corner in the creek, it just flooded right over town.
Right over down. That's right.
So the water, there's a Marcus in town, but the water was several metres above the park, where the park is. Was it?
Well, it's
Yeah.
on that marker, yeah. Probably only 2, isn't it?
2 metres.
I think it is.
Well,
There's still a lot.
Yeah, that's right. But
it would have been more there because everything backed up when it hit the hall. It was probably higher there, but it was about up to the 5th step in the pub.
So the memorial hall was washed away. This was about midnight then, when all this.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the truck driver, he tried to
Yeah.
he
He beat the
Yeah.
horn.
beeped the
Yeah.
horn because he saw what was happening, but
Yeah.
of course it was too late. The water was
Yeah.
already going right over town. So several houses were washed away, and 2 people lost their lives
Yeah.
that night. And you were living up here then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how were you aware of what was going down in town?
Well,
One of the boys got out of bed, the oldest fella. He got out of bed and came into our bedroom and said, "Dad, we better go and pull the pump out of the creek. I can smell mud." Anyway, we jumped up, and because we only had 3 inches here.
Of rain.
Yeah. So we jumped up, and Keith went down with the 2 of the boys.
So what did you see when you walked down to town the next day?
well, it was just a bit muddy because, as you can imagine, it was only 6 inches deep on that road going down
Yeah,
to town,
yeah.
so it wasn't a big thing for us. But when you got to the town, the power was down and debris in the streets, and that was
Yeah.
pretty dramatic.
We couldn't get down there because the power was out and we couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
So
And the people who lost their lives, were they living in houses then quite close to the centre of town?
Bill
or-
Barron was living with his mother, and
Yeah.
it was right in line with the
Okay, yeah.
creek, and
that
just
one doesn't show.
and then the other people. There's a photo in here where the house was lifted up and went down to the back creek bridge, and the guidepost caught it.
There
in
was
the
one of
floor,
those big round
and we-
down at Guidepost,
Yeah.
not the ones today.
And it just came up and down that quickly that it just got to there. They reckon it was only a matter of 15 minutes and it was gone.
Yeah.
But in that time, it took
But
the whole.
So he came up that quickly and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
came back down again.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the photos of the day after, and so it was
Yeah.
declared a disaster zone.
Yeah, yeah.
And how long was it? How long did it take to clean that up? And how long?
Oh,
Do you know people come from far and wide to help clean that up?
Yeah.
It was just marvellous.
Yeah.
But
So we clearly left a scar in the community or something like that.
yeah.
it did.
People having
It's-
lost their lives. I mean, houses you can rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the people that are there are still a bit jumpy when it gets a lot of rain, including us.
I can imagine that, and I suppose the thing is, this is a farming community,
Yep.
and water is everything by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you get a summer storm coming through, that's a good
Yeah.
good thing. Everyone's happy about that. But I can imagine there comes a point in time where
Yeah.
the memories come back.
Yeah, yeah. And all the work we had to do after it, the fencing, miles and
huge,
miles and
huge.
miles of
I can
fencing.
imagine
Yeah,
Because when you say you notice, I mean, years later, there's nothing where the hall used to be. So every time you go downtown, you think there's a hall, but it's not there. Those things will never be the same again. But yeah, most of those places they're just anti-tunnel.
Geez, de-stress, you know.
Yeah.
He's away from it, he's away from us and lucky.
What are we looking at here? What's the age? We're here again with Sharon Duncombe,
Hi.
who we met in the last episode.
Yes.
We were out roaming your land,
Yeah.
but now we're on home base.
We are. Yeah.
This is the the original Cooyar Homestead was built in this location in around early 1840s,
That's right.
and you are now the owners of the Cooyar property.
We are.
So it must have, has it been, how much has it been altered over time? Has it been changed a lot?
Yeah, there's been 2 sections. So obviously you can't see it here, but it's in a U shape. So the next section would have been this side here on the left, and then the other section is that side. So.
So this is a meat shed, yeah?
It is.
And I've never quite understood how a meat shed works.
Okay.
And this was used until quite recently, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say 2 years ago we were using this.
2 years ago. So how does it work? What do you do in a meat shed?
So how we do things now is we have a cold room, obviously, but they would have just hung the beast up there.
So one beast at
hooks.
one beast at a time.
One beast at a time,
Yeah.
and
So killed here somewhere on the grounds.
and they would have just cut their. Yeah, they would have done all the cutting in here and packaging, I guess. And we do have a smokehouse, a meat smokehouse, so a lot of the meat would have went down to the smokehouse back in the day.
Oh,
so.
right. Okay. So it wasn't for preserving. You didn't keep it in here any.
No,
length
we
of time.
never did.
Yeah.
We would just cut it up. We would have a butcher come cut it up for us, and we put it straight in the freezer.
So Sharon, you just call this a cream shed?
Cream shed.
Yeah.
Yes, this is where they used to. The truck or the dray back in the day would have picked up the cans, which is there's old ones around the corner there. They would have had the milk in those and the cream, in those, and the separator. They would have separated the milk to make the cream, and off they would go to distribute wherever.
So they did the separation here inside the shed.
Yep.
Okay. So we're approaching the last landmark in Cooyar before we leave town, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. The famous Cooyar suspension bridge. It's been a bridge here across the creek since about 1924, but washed away along with many other things in the flood in '88.
Yeah. And then rebuilt.
Rebuilt in the late '80s. And Peter from the fishing club this morning was just telling us that there was a German engineer and his wife, and they built it.
It's a great piece of engineering, and it's the swinging bridge of Cooyar, so it does swing a lot. So let's
And the
do it.
kids love it.
They do. Now if you hear a trickle of water behind me, it's because I'm standing by Boyne Creek, and Boyne Creek is spring-fed. It comes off the Palms National Park and then it runs into Cooyar Creek just below us here. So Boyne Creek, always water in Boyne Creek, spring-fed, which means that after Boyne Creek downstream, there tends to be a bit more water in Cooyar Creek as well.